How you doing? How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Recording in progress.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer. Welcome to Mental Health Monday. And this is the Mental Health Timeout Tip. As you know, I've been coming to you every day for a week to let you know about mental health and how you can help it and how you can solve it, how you can recognize and things like that. But let's get right to it. You know, this Saturday, this weekend, there was, as we know, there's a shooting. We're not going to hide from it. We're not going to avoid talking about this. But here, what I want you to do, and if it stirred up something, if it created something, if it created a conversation, good for you. If it created some type of anger, write that down. If it created some type of sadness, write that down. If it created some type of an emotion, write that down. Because here's what's going on. You know, there's narratives and there's people talking about it and there's things that have always been talked about. But when it comes to life, we're talking about living and dying. People die every day for ... Fill in those dots. You can do however you want to fill it in. Fill those dots in. Those lives are precious. All life is precious. All life is precious. Take that in. And if only certain things trigger you to react in a certain way, those things need to be addressed. They need to be addressed. This Saturday, a good friend of mine, Lynn Twyman, you can see the board behind me. We're going to be doing for life-changing empowerment. You can do it in person or you can do it online. I'll put that into the chat or the information. If you see it on the social media, you can click on the registration. It is only $20. But let's go from there. There are things that you can do, ought to do, if you are going to live with all these actions that you have not taken. It's not so much actions that other people do and have taken, but it's the actions that is triggering you. Understanding that is the most important. Understanding that is the most important. These things often drive people into a category. It drives people on a line. It puts people on a list of what things they're thinking about only in the emotional state. Not a clarity state, not a conscious state, and an emotional state. And that triggers all types of different chemicals and triggers the body, and it remains sick. It doesn't heal you, even if you do what you would like to do because of your emotion and you take the action or the reaction. If you don't heal what's ever being triggered, then the reaction keeps being consistent, it gets compounded, and it stays stronger into whatever feeling you are feeling over this weekend because of the mass shooting in Buffalo or the mass shooting that took place in California or any other mass shooting that took place anywhere, anytime. We have gone through 198 mass shootings since the beginning of this year. 198. Have you been triggered by all those? We've had countless of suicides. Have you been triggered by those? Have you been triggered by countless of overdose? Have you been triggered by those? Have you been triggered by black on black crime or crime specifically? Have you been triggered by those? Have you been triggered by people not surviving because they don't have enough blood to do a transfusion? Have you been triggered by that? Have you been triggered by the people who have passed away from sickle cell? Or from any disease, cancer? Have you been triggered by all those? Car accidents, alcohol-related, bullying, all those things creates triggers. And have you addressed those? Have you addressed any of the crime that causes death? or any of the incidents that causes death. Death is not always just physical. There's mental death too. There's spiritual death too. Have you been triggered by those things? And what are you doing about it? How are you preparing yourself to heal thyself? There's a difference between healing and reacting, surviving and healing. There's a difference. Are you working on that? If you're not working on that, then the cycle keeps continuing. Let's break this cycle. Yeah, it's tragic. It's horrible when a person gets a life taken from them in a short. Gets taken from them. Gets taken. If you're working off the narrative that it's an us and them and us, you're stuck. Because human life, humanity, human life is important. Are you going to ask me, does it affect me as being a black person in America? Yes, it does. But all things affect me anyway because I'm a human being. Am I personally afraid? No, because I prepare and I train. Am I concerned? Yes, I'm concerned. Am I aware? Absolutely. Am I conscious? Absolutely. But I'm not going to be triggered by these events because of ... Those are the things we ought to work on. Would you take time? So sit back, feel, express yourself. Please express yourself. Cry. Just cry. Just get it out. Scream. Scream loudly. But after you stop crying and after you stop screaming and after you stop stomping your feet and hollering and pointing a finger, what will you do then? How will you help us be better? How will you get the correction? Please, take your time. Go through it. Feel it. Don't ignore it. Don't say, here it goes again, and don't use those negative words as putting you in a box. The right, the wrong, the us, the them. Those are boxes. Those are cages. Mental cages. That's all they are. And if you get stuck in a mental cage, you will remain a slave. If you're stuck in a cage, you become a slave. Take your time. Express yourself. This is very important on all of it. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer, and I'll be talking to you tomorrow. You can see the other stuff I've done before. Use these as helpful tips. But this day, feel it. Express it. Recognize it. But feel it all. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer, and thank you for listening. And I'll see you again.
Recording.